right, everybody, how are we doing today? Kobra back, and as you can see, I just moved in. I got a office. However, I have nothing on my walls yet. I don't have any bookshelves, bookcases, or anything like that in here yet. But I just got settled, got my internet back up, and I did a little bit of trading last week once I got my internet back. But basically, right now, Bitcoin is going sideways. We'll go ahead and look at the charts, and I'm probably going to have everything set up in this room probably within the next week or two, so it'll look a lot nicer in here. All right, let's head over to the charts real quick. All right, so big picture, this is pretty much the weekly chart here, and what we've done is we've basically ended up crossing this threshold and breaking down, and basically we've come up now, and we're starting to retest this and everything. This was clearly a descending triangle. For a while, I thought that it was either a descending wedge, just because it was originally forming before these two bullish candles formed. This was pretty clearly forming a wedge, but obviously we came back up, we made another lower high, and it turned into a descending triangle. We just recently broke down from that maybe a little less than a month ago. So taking a look at the daily chart here, this is pretty much, this is my bearish count. I have two counts, and I'm going to show you the other one in a minute. All of this pretty much stays the same through here. However, I guess from here on out is counted a little differently. This whole structure is counted differently. So I'll go ahead and show you guys that. And the most recent count that I have for the lower time frames, like the 1 hour chart and stuff like that. That's some water. All right. So anyway, yeah, this is my bearish count. So I'm counting this as a WXY, which is basically the larger degree of a 333 correction, in that right now we're on our last leg down on our C leg, and I've got this as a 1-2 with our 3 here. We just completed our 4, and now that means that we should be coming down for our 5, which would bring us to levels of at least about 7,600, 7,675 or so. But I have my target still at about $7,200. I've had that target for a while, and I really think that if this ends up breaking down, then those are probably going to be levels that we see. On the daily chart, we have been getting obviously more bullish momentum. This is the awesome oscillator. Obviously, we switched over, and we've been getting some pretty bullish momentum on this, decreasing the bearish momentum here. So that is positive. However, we've seen many times with this where it's like we get close to switching over into a bullish trend, and then it ends up just breaking down again. So it is possible for that to happen. And we'll just have to pretty much wait and see. Right now we're coming to probably just the end of some sideways movement here. We've pretty much just been range bound for a very long time, I guess since the end of last month in September. On my 4-hour chart, this is pretty much what I have, and we were in a long descending channel here. That once that broke down, all hell broke loose. This level, this little support and resistance box here, this ended up not holding. We ended up breaking down, and we've been pretty much just range bound in here ever since. So I've got my extreme top range here and my low range here. I mean, I guess this is just this is just like another higher level of resistance. I wouldn't necessarily call it the range, quote unquote, but this is definitely where the most price action has been. So that's where my range lines are. So on my bearish count here, you can clearly see why I have this labeled as a, as a 3, and now this is a 4th wave, and now obviously we would be coming back down for a 5. We would have to break some pretty serious levels of support to come down this way. Mainly the ones being here, which is one that we've tested 3 times now in the past few days. And that level is right here at about $8,200. Once that breaks, We're looking at 81.50 or so, just like this little range right here between here and the 618, about 81.60, 81.70, and like 82.25. This is basically like another little like support box here. If this ends up breaking down, I see us very quickly coming down to retest the $7,800 level. So as of right now, that's less than $1,000. We've seen Bitcoin make over $1,000 moves in single days. So that could happen at any point if we do end up losing support down here. My MFI indicator right here, I mean, we're pretty much just kind of just choppy right now. We had this one little spike up, and I'm actually kind of surprised how much this indicator spiked up for how little the price spiked up. I mean, you're really only talking about maybe $150 here. This was like 150 bucks. So for the indicator to jump that high and make such a big spike like that is kind of unusual, which is why I knew that this move was probably not going to end up being sustained. I had longed this when we bounced off our support the first time, which is normally not. That's normally a pretty risky move to do something like that, but low risk, low reward, high risk, high reward. I ended up longing this, and this is actually where I took profit up here. It wasn't exactly at the line, obviously, but it was about like 84.25 or something like that. As we started coming back down, I didn't short this because this was pretty much on Friday, and I don't trade on the weekend. So, but anyway, this is pretty much the range that we've been in, and we've been sitting pretty comfortably in it. We went to break out of it. We tested it 1, 2, 3, 4 times or so. And then over here, we ended up breaking through, closing above, and then just kind of going sideways. But the price just getting suppressed lower and lower and lower. We had this huge spike up here. I think I had longed this earlier in the week. I had longed from about here in the group, the Edge group that I'm in. We longed from right about here, from about 81.30, 81.50 or so, and we were taking profits throughout this once these price levels were hit, and then we re-shorted from about $8,800. That's where we were laddering in shorts, and then we took this move down. But again, those are very short-term plays here. These are plays that were playing out maybe over only just a day or two. So very short-term plays, not anything that's a swing trade for a couple weeks or anything by any means. But those were two very, very successful trades in the last over the span of last week, which were really, really nice. So looking down even lower at a 1 hour time frame here, you can see that we've just kind of been bouncing around from this support zone and kind of using our 50 fib level and our 3A2 as like support and resistance and stuff. So all of these levels have been very important over the last week, and since we've tested this bottom support here, I think 3 times now, 1, 2, 3 times, support and resistance gets weakened every time you test it, right? So that's the only thing that's worrying me, is that if we do come down here and test this, it's probably not going to end up holding again. I would be pretty surprised if it did, because there's a lot of there's a lot of bearish pressure and distribution down here at these levels. So that tells me that we would probably end up breaking through here. There's been a lot of volume all in these levels, because this is where our range is since we've been range bound. But past this level, once you get past this 618, that's kind of like, Nancy bar the door, and then after that, that's pretty much it. The really, really, really low volume through here all the way down to our last line of support, which is 7,700. And then obviously if that breaks, we would be heading probably pretty deep. I would say at least to the 127 level of about 74.75. So let's go ahead. I'm going to take a look at my other count here. I got my bullish count on this. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the Ichimoku first. So basically what Ichimoku is telling us on, I like to use Ichimoku on the 4-hour and daily charts. And there's a lot of things going on here with this, right? So I know this looks complicated. I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to exactly use this in the easiest way later on. But for all intensive purposes, we have not seen a TK cross yet. So you've got the Tengen-sen and the Kinjin-sen lines. That's the blue and the red lines here. And when those cross, normally you end up seeing some kind of a move. And all through here is just really, really choppy. There wasn't really any defined trend. The lines were very, very close to each other. Obviously, when you see a downtrend, these lines are very, very far apart. And you know, conversely, when you're seeing an uptrend, you know, these lines end up growing very, very far apart. So we haven't really had too much of an actual trend through here. It's just been a lot of chops since we're range bound. And you've got the purple moving average here. You guys can see that. That is our 50. The orange is our 100. The yellow is our 200. And then we've got this cloud. We're sitting in a really big red cloud right now, but it is just with this last candle on the 4-hour chart has turned green. That is pretty bullish. Normally, when you get a cloud change like that, this is subject to change. Obviously, like if we saw a big move down before this candle closed, this could continue to be red. But as of right now, this has turned over green, which is a very bullish sign, even though that we're in the cloud. Historically, when you trade Ichimoku, you do not make a trade when you're inside this cloud. I was making scalps on smaller time frames, but you don't make larger plays on swings when you're sitting in the cloud like this. You just don't do it. And we haven't seen a bearish TK cross here. These lines, if you look in real close here, these lines have not crossed. They actually haven't even touched. I do think they touched on this candle, but with the bullish momentum of this new candle, the lines are no longer touching anymore. So this candle and probably the next one or two, probably the next 8 hours throughout the rest of the day today, those candles are going to be very, very important. The lines and the extremes of the top and bottoms of the cloud normally act as other levels of support and resistance. That's how the cloud is formed. So what we've done now is we've tested our bottom support line here of about 82.25. And what that means is that basically if we ended up breaking down from here, that would be extremely bearish. Like I would definitely short on a 4-hour candle close below this cloud, because that means that we are going to go deeper. That means that this was not the start of a new wave sequence up and that it's a continuation. It was just a bounce back of a larger, you know, downtrend. So I'm going to be watching this very, very closely. Anything, first of all, closing above this 50 EMA on the 4-hour that's going to be pretty bullish. So I'm going to be watching that if that happens. We've got about 2.5 hours, so a lot of time left on this candle. But if we do close above the 50 EMA, I might try to do like a short, 5-minute time frame scalp call to see if we can come up here and test again this resistance level up here at about 84.25 to about 84.50, somewhere in there. So there's definitely a lot of plays to be made on, you know, when you're range bound. I normally only suggest that intermediate to more intermediate and advanced traders try to do that. You really have to understand what you're doing. All of it takes place on very, very short time frames, and you have to be very, very careful and use very good risk management. Otherwise, you tend to lose quite a bit on that. So the Ichimoku is definitely something to be watching here. On the 1-hour chart, it doesn't really work out too great, but let me go ahead and turn this off. All right, so let's see, where is my count here? I don't think I had it, did I not have it saved on this chart? Or was it on the 15-minute? No, I think it's on my other setup here. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so this is my bullish count. I use Bitstamp for my alternate Elliott wave count, but basically this is it. All of these labels from here to here are all completely current, and this is the way that I'm labeling this. Basically, is that we've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into our A, and then like I'm saying that this is basically a correction upwards from this down, or from this this main down move, right? So this is our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into our A, our ABC into our B, our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 into our C wave, and this is forming a wave 1 of a larger degree, right? So then we've got, out of this 5-wave sequence up, we've got our ABC down, and now for our 2 wave, and now basically I'm proposing a more complex correction, basically a flat right here. which would be the start of our third wave up. So we've got our ABC, basically a double correction, a double three from this 5-wave sequence up. And now what I'm proposing is that from here is actually we're probably going to be choppy for a little bit in here on the 1-hour chart, testing this support level. So far, this has held, which I'm very happy about. Obviously, you can see here on this lower time frame on the 1-hour, we're actually testing resistance right here at this level in here, about 83.60. If we close above that, we do stand to move higher, and as of right now, this is the reason why it looks kind of bullish to me. We've been holding, I drew a yellow line here. This is just kind of the most recent kind of area that we've used on my 2-line cross as support and or resistance. And we did just get a bullish cross here on this 2-line cross, and we've also been seeing higher lows. If you zoom in on this, we have been seeing higher lows here. So there are bullish signs on these lower time frames, at least, that says that we're going to be moving higher. And normally the lower time frames move towards being bullish before the bigger time frames do, right? Because there's more candlesticks going on in the 1-hour. There's more data that's forming constantly. So normally the lower time frames end up becoming bullish before the larger ones. Drink some coffee. All right. Anyway, so that's my my bearish and my bullish count for this. My target for wave 3 on this, these obviously aren't correct levels. I didn't get that far this morning because I've been very busy, but this level I did measure out, and my target would be anywhere from about anywhere in here from basically like 9,400 all the way up to like 9,550 or something. I think that would be a good target for a wave 3. And honestly, if you step out and you look at the bigger picture, that's actually not too bad of an area, right? I mean, let's look at where that is, right? If you go back here, let's see, 95, let's take 95.50, just about here, down to, what did I say, about 9,400, about here. Yeah, I mean, that's not too bad of a target. I mean, this was the level that we bounced around in for a little bit right before our major drop off. So honestly, this is probably where my first target is going to be. You can even drag this over a little further, and this has been a pretty historic level of support and resistance all the way through. So that's definitely going to be my first target. If this is a 1-2, this was our main ABC or whatever, ABC, and then another ABC down or whatever, double zigzag, whatever this is on the intermediate levels. And now we're starting with a 1-2. We do stand a chance of moving pretty high up into there. So I think I forgot where my exact fib retracement pull was. I don't know if it was from up here. Is this already reversed for the upside? No, it's not. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was either from there, or I think maybe it was from here. I think it was from up here. That makes more sense because that's where the golden zone is on the move up. And obviously, if you reverse this to the downside or whatever, this is our first main level of resistance here. Lines up with the 618 from that pull. So I don't recommend reversing this unless you're trying to find the further targets for your corrective moves. So that's normally what that's used for. It works the same way as if you're doing a fib. It's like this fib extension tool if you reverse it. But anyway, so that is my bearish and my bullish case right now. My bullish targets are all the way up there, and then my bearish targets are obviously we're starting way down here between 7,200, about 7K and 7,200. That's pretty much what everybody is calling, but like I mentioned, we're gonna have to have some pretty serious levels be breaking down here, as you saw on my other chart. So That's pretty much it for today, guys. I was really glad to get back and do some analysis for you. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And as always, happy trading.